So, standing behind you is Bill Harvey. He's a Holocaust survivor, concentration camp survivor, labor survivor, and there are many people today who are claiming that Holocaust stories are exaggerated, that the numbers are exaggerated, that the Jews are trying to claim a greater victimhood than the blacks in slavery. What's your father's experience? You received an award on his behalf tonight.
Well, my dad was 19 years old in 1944, and he enlisted in the United States Army, which was a segregated military at the time. He did his boot camp in Georgia and was subjected to Jim Crow laws. And as a result, he was bitter and he was angry, feeling that he was treated as not good enough, as less than. And in following boot camp, he and his comrades in the Combat Engineers Battalion were shipped immediately to Central Europe to continue the fight.
During World War II?
During World War II.
Was he in the Battle of the Bulge?
He was in the Battle of the Bulge, but you got to remember this is a segregated military, and African Americans at that time were not permitted in the infantry. So he was a support, building bridges, building roads on behalf of the infantry in the Battle of the Bulge. He saw the ravages of war at that time.
Did he make his way to the concentration camps?
Well, actually, he didn't make his way. As they continued on through the Battle of the Bulge, they ended up in Buchenwald.
Buchenwald concentration camp.
Buchenwald concentration camp. And I can tell you this from my perspective. When I was 11 years old, I found a photo album in our family room. And it had a photo of my dad on the cover in his uniform. And I opened it up and I saw pictures of my dad and his comrades. And then as I went further, I saw the most horrific photograph I've ever seen in my life. And that was a picture of my dad and his comrades standing there respectfully. And there was a pile of bodies stacked in rows 3 to 5 feet high.
European Jews.
European Jews at Buchenwald. This was a death camp. I was horrified. I came to my father and I said, "What is this?" And he said, "That was a different time." And he said that and gently pulled the book from me. That was because when he came back from his stint in the Army, he didn't talk about it for years and years and years. And it wasn't until he was the principal of a high school in Philadelphia and one of his history teachers brought in an Eastern European Holocaust survivor that what happened was she began her story and the students who were from a poor neighborhood and they were all African American heckled her. And my dad stood up and said, "You need to listen to her. What she is saying is true because I was there." And I believe that was the first time he recounted his story after all those years.
In class?
In one of his teacher's history classes. And it opened the floodgates for my father, who over the next 30 years spoke in this country, in other countries, in synagogues, churches, schools, giving the message, educating and inspiring people about overcoming prejudice and hate.
So there's an issue in the black community, a resentment that Jews may have had or may hold some greater victimhood. Have you detected that or sensed that in the past?
When I think it's a stereotype that is easily broken when people start to talk to each other. And I have seen folks come together when my father would speak, where there would be a Jewish and black audience mixed, and there would be dialogue, and you could see the barriers breaking down.
Is there a resentment against Jews as having a victimhood which rivals what blacks have been taught, that they've endured in slavery?
I see more of a unity than I see a division between our Jewish citizens and our African American citizens.
Do you work to bridge that? Is that why you're here being honored today?
I am here to honor my father and do what I can to continue his legacy and to continue his work.
What he encountered in the death camps, what kind of an impression has that made that you're trying to now carry on? I guess he tried to bring it to the students in that history class.
Absolutely. In many history class, in that history class and 30 years thereafter, he was imparting that message throughout this country and internationally, and moved, touched, and inspired and educated people about overcoming hate.
What kind of a movement is there within the black community or Black America to help in the same way that Jews have helped in the Black South, for instance, in 1964, 66, Civil Rights Movement, to help stop anti-Semitism? Is there any kind of initiative organized in some way?
Not that I am sure there is, but I am not familiar.